Hello and welcome to Storied Sojourns, also known as D&D with college students. This is our first episode and sort of a session 0 to get to know the cast and the characters they will be playing. If you have ever seen any of the shows we've done before, then you should know most of the faces that you see on the screen right now. But let's have some introductions and a little bit of an intro to each of the characters. So I will start with you, Jordan. Go ahead and introduce yourself and the character you'll be playing in Storied Sojourns.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jordan. You may recognize me from multiple things. This time around, I'm playing a character named Talos. He is a Leonin Druid of the Circle of Wildfire. Are we saying more, or is it?
Well, we can get into more during the interactions. Up next, Virginia.
Hello, I'm Virginia. You probably recognize me because I played Magnus before if you watched that. So the character I'll be playing is Obstinatus Vuvaxith, and so he is a Rune Knight fighter, and he's a Triton. So.
All right, Jennie.
Hi, I'm Jennie. I've been in other series on this channel, such as Call of Cthulhu, D&D with High School Students Season 4, and B-Team. And today in our new series, I'll be playing Skepsi of Ochiro, the Artificer, Alchemist, Satyr.
All right, and DJ.
Okay, there we go. Hi, I'm playing Skjorn, the Minotaur Ranger, and it's a Swarmkeeper.
Yes. Now, this campaign is set in the original world of Kikapulan on the continent of Chamenos. And Chamenos is a very rather mythic place with a lot of interesting kind of features to it that we will learn about in the game. But as you guys mentioned, you are actually on the south of the continent. And there are not a lot of settlements on the continent. There are more wild things on Chamenos than there are civilized places. But you guys are kind of located in a region where one of the civilized places, the town of Ohiro, is a port city along the very southern tip of Chamenos. It's a very old stone-walled port city built into the coastline and ascending up into the lower foothills of the mountains. And to the northeast of that is another small settlement, which is the sanctuary of Neurostema. And this is also kind of a port location along the southeast side of the continent of Chamenos. So you guys have some backgrounds because each one of you had many adventures along the way. We are starting this campaign off at 8th level. So each one of you and your characters have had some adventures along the way. And in the course of those adventures have met up with each other. And throughout the campaign, we'll kind of have some opportunities for you guys to share some of those background stories and some of the epic adventures that you have had along the way. But where we begin today is Skepsi is heading out to kind of a little bit of a rural, little bit of a remote location that is in between Ohiro and Neurostema to meet up with Talos. And Talos kind of lives off on his own. He has this cottage that is surrounded by a wooden palisade, and it's basically an abandoned outpost. But it's meant to be kind of a halfway point between the two settlements of Ohiro and Nerostema. But it's been unmanned for quite some time, and when the opportunity came around, Talos, you sought a bit of solitude. And tell us a little bit more about how that came to be. Why was Talos sad, and why did Talos need a break from everything?
Yeah, okay. So Talos grew up in a tribe of Leonin, known as the Dawnmane, and he was just kind of chilling, and then he fell in love, and he got married to another Leonin, and that was his husband, and the two of them joined the Stratos Guard together, and then they were like part of wars and stuff, and then a bit of a battle broke out, and it was not good, and Talos lost his husband, and after that all was done, he wanted to sort of be alone to grieve.
And at some point, Talos met up with Skepsi and Obstinatus, both of whom had also had some involvement in the defense of many of the settlements from the invasion of the Ankhegs. So both Skepsi and Obstinatus know where Talos lives. Now, Obstinatus, you still serve pretty closely with the Sanctuary of Nerostema. Talk a little bit about how Obstinatus came through that conflict with the invasion from that perspective.
Yeah, so his whole thing, or just kind of how he met Talos?
Well, you could talk a little bit about that experience, and then maybe that'll dovetail into your other adventure with Skjorn.
Yeah, so Obstinatus is from the Sanctuary of Nerostema, and so he lives there with his older brother, and so he became kind of an adventurer because him and his brother always wanted to go out and see the world together. And then his brother fell ill, and so now he kind of travels around to fulfill his brother's wishes and like make him proud. So he adventures around Chamenos to see the world and collect souvenirs for Karis, his brother. And so going on some of these adventures, so he met Talos in defense of Nerostema, and so because Obstinatus was fighting in defense of Nerostema, and then after the Tritons drove back the horde, some of their military was sent to assist Ohiro, and so on that battlefield in the plains east of Ohiro, Obstinatus met Talos, and so they stayed in touch a little bit. And then Obstinatus also met Skjorn because Obstinatus has been, traveling around a little bit. And this is when Skjorn discovered like a young adult green dragon, and so Obstinatus came along, and they shared like what they knew about the dragon, and then they formulated a plan to ambush the dragon and drive it from the land. So that's kind of how Obstinatus knows those two.
Yes. Now, Skjorn, you came from a tribe. Talk a little bit about the background that you have with your tribe and why you left.
So Skjorn was born into a very brutalistic, murderous bandit-like tribe. He was trained to be a pikeman using the spear, so his whole life he was taught to just kill something, and he eventually joined like raider groups from the camp and just plundered all types of villages going all across the island and decimating people. Eventually, he kind of felt like, wow, we are really the bad guys here. We do nothing but horrible things all day. And he grew to hate what he was doing. And so he questioned like everything, because he was extremely patriotic and like, you know, he loved where he came from, his people, and he felt kind of betrayed, like, wow, everything I thought was good is actually bad, and questioned everything, ran off into the woods, and had kind of a psychological reawakening by learning the bow and by interacting with animals. And that's where his background comes in with his Swarmkeeper. He met a bunch of cowbirds, which were a variety of bird that loved to live amongst herds of buffalo or bovine and follow them and pick at them, use their fur for sleeping in and things like that. So he kind of grew accustomed with this flock of cowbirds, and that's
And
uh,
it was actually through that interaction that his swarm revealed to him that there was a new presence in the region, which is how he discovered Emrys, the young adult green dragon. And that discovery was sooner revealing other problems which this young and rather aggressive green dragon was in the midst of trying to establish a lair and was kind of intimidating some of the nomadic groups that were in the region. And it was at that time that Skjorn kind of shared those insights with a fellow traveler, Obstinatus. And together they were able to kind of scout out the activities of Emrys and kind of backtrack and investigate to where Emrys was trying to set up a lair. And they collaborated to come up with a plan to drive the green dragon away and destroy its lair before it could kind of establish a foothold in the region. And they were successful with that, gathering the appreciation of a lot of the nomadic peoples in the area, as well as some of the settlements. So as I said before, Talos, you are at your cottage. You know that Skepsi usually comes around every few weeks to kind of, visit with you to see if you've come across anything interesting that she might be able to use in her activities as an artificer. She's always kind of looking for interesting things. And you also know that your other friend, Obstinatus, frequently makes kind of a patrol from Neurostema to your abandoned outpost, basically, just to make sure that there aren't any, major concerns that would be a threat to the sanctuary. And likewise, Skjorn, as one who frequently travels and is almost nomadic most of the time, you also kind of make a regular route where you stop by. And as it so happens, all of you arrive at Talos's outpost at around the same time. And you're pleased to see that the wooden fence, the wooden palisade that was in a state of disrepair looks to be pretty solid. It looks like Talos has been working on, kind of rebuilding the outpost defenses, and even the gate that had been previously destroyed. You see like a new wooden gate that's mounted on these big hinges, which seem to be also in good shape. So the place looks pretty well kept. You see a little, smoke from a cooking fire as you guys approach from both the east and the west. Talos, you are in the grounds inside, and you have a small, modest cottage that you've kind of fixed up. It had previously had a collapsed roof and was missing some of the structural supports. And in the past year, you've basically just devoted yourself to kind of establishing this new home base. And every once in a while, you get people, who are daring enough to make the travel between Ohiro and Neurostema, who might stop by your outpost. And you trade and barter with them anytime that you need something that you can't get for yourself, either, through your skills with survival or or off of the land, but you've managed to do pretty well in the past year for yourself. So all of you guys arrive, and you see Talos right by the cooking fire, and he seems to have something in a kettle. What are you cooking? And what do you guys say with each other?
I'm probably just making some tea or something.
It's the biggest kettle of tea you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Hey Talos, how's it going? How you doing?
Hi. You know, things are going. I'm making some tea right now. You can all sit if you want. I didn't know that you would be coming by.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to like drop in unexpectedly. I just wanted to see what's going on. That's all.
And at that moment, Skepsi, you come in from the other direction. You made the perilous journey from Ohiro, but you kind of know the routes to go so that you're not directly on the road and a prime target for any sort of ambush. But you made your way quickly from Ohiro. You had actually heard a rumor about some hill giants that had come down from the mountains, from Notia Vuna. And you know that there's an area kind of where one of the hill giant tribes resides, where there's a very rare mineral. It's a purple crystal that is flammable and combustible when mixed with the right sort of thing. And you know it has a high value to you personally, but you know also in the markets in Ohiro. And you were thinking maybe you'd drop by and visit your friend Talos and see if you can get some help to maybe go harvest some of that stuff. So Skepsi arrives.
Good morrow, my old friends. How are you? I see you're working on one of your brews.
Oh, yep, you know me. And he like as he's not actually putting it on a kettle. He's just putting his hands underneath it, and like flames come out of his hands every so often. You know. How's the travels? You've been working on some stuff for your pop?
Well, yes, you know how my father can be. He's always expecting me to push that extra limit. But we've been doing good. I also have caught in word there. I don't know if you've encountered any of these the hill giants recently.
Can't say that I have really. I mean, I had heard about them, but just sort of been here.
There's been a bit of trouble with them lately. I've heard that they may be around the area, particularly a little close to here. They also happen to be surrounding an area with some essentials that I've been needing for my practices. So if it may not put you out, I would be wondering if you would be so kind as to assist me. Plus, one less hill giant in the world is just what we may need.
I mean, if they're close by, I don't see why I can't help you out, you know,
Many thanks to you.
right?
And
Maybe Obstinatus could come with, I guess, unless you are content staying here.
No, I'm okay to lend a hand.
let's
Just
grab
as you
you
guys
one
are
like you.
discussing this, you hear a knock at the eastern gate. Talos.
I'll go towards the gate, and I'll be like, wow, a lot of visitors today, huh? Usually I get one every so often, but guess it's a party or something.
And peeking through the small gaps between the wood of the gate, you see a clump of curly hair tousled amidst some horns, the head of which you recognize as the wandering ranger Skjorn.
Oh, well, hey there. I guess everybody's here today. You're just
Hello. I hear you have many visitors, I guess.
I do. I also have some tea if you want some tea.
Um, sure, I'd love to come in. I actually had quite a favor to ask of you.
Oh, well, we could add it to the list, I guess. You can come and sit down.
Okay.
Skjorn, you come in through the gate, and after you come in, Talos closes the gate, and you see a couple familiar faces kind of sitting on some logs around this cooking fire, this outdoor kitchen area. You see Obstinatus, and you also recognize Skepsi, the Satyr, who you've met before. And you guys likewise see Skjorn as he walks in.
Oh, Skjorn, nice to see you again.
Hello.
How are things by you?
Wood.
It's also just as a little bit of a setting. It's a pretty warm day. It's like 80 degrees. There's kind of a warm wind that's blowing in off of the coast. But it's, pretty standard kind of summer day. And the sun is high overhead. We'll say it's about noon.
Sorry to intrude, but I overheard a favor, Skjorn. What's that about?
There's much action in the air of these areas, and that's not typical.
Oh, is that of the hill giants you were that I had heard of?
Perhaps, but I don't know if hill giants are hurling gigantic boulders all day long that can fly nimbly through the air.
I want each one of you to make a history check. The first roll of the game. History.
That's a 3.
Well, that's an 18 for me, because that's intelligence and proficiency.
15.
You're not sure that you've ever heard of boulders that can fly around in a sentient fashion. You're not exactly sure whether Skjorn is telling the truth or some version of what he believes to be the truth. But you do vaguely know that there's a divine being named Yasik Hogue, who is one of the gods that is worshipped on the continent. And Yasik Hogue is often affiliated with wind and air and storms.
Well, I have not heard of flying boulders before, unless those boulders have wings, and in that case, it would make sense for them to be flying.
Well, I don't think many creatures on our continent here could huck such a stone that way, but I am familiar with one of the gods here, Yasik Ho, the powers of the elements and the storms. Something that kind of divineness could have something relating to moving these rocks in air.
Skepsi, you also know that if there's trickery afoot, there could be another culprit. And that is one of the divine beings, Katergaris, is a deity who can appear in any form and is kind of a well-known trickster. They are deceptive, they're manipulative, they're tricky, and they often derive pleasure from creating chaos. And Katargaris is not known to be evil per se, but just chaotic. So if it were something, truly evil, you're not quite sure if this would be attributed to Katargaris or if it would just be something more kind of tricky and prankful, which is a word I just made up. Prankful. So that's kind of what comes across your mind. As you guys are kind of sitting around, beginning to enjoy some of the freshly warmed tea that was brewed by Talos, you actually hear something coming from the south. You hear sounds like someone yelling or maybe some cries from the south.
You guys hear that?
Think so. Is there a fourth friend that you guys invited over? I
No.
really didn't know that I was having guests today. I mean,
I
My
mean, not
traveling
that I'm aware of.
is only me and my assistant.
There is, on each wall, there's a ladder that goes up to a walkway that doesn't span the entire palisade, but there's, kind of a lookout from each side.
Okay, I'm gonna climb the ladder up and check things out.
yeah, I'll
Okay.
go up there too.
You see about 100 yards away to the south, you see a group of what looks like maybe 4 or 5 Kamina running towards the outpost, and they seem to be like fleeing, and one of them's like, help, help. And just beyond them, like maybe 50 yards beyond them, you see a boulder rolling towards them. Now, what makes this odd is that they're kind of coming uphill. It's not a steep incline towards the outpost, but it's definitely kind of coming up an incline. And the boulder's like rolling up towards them.
Guys, I think we have an issue.
That is a boulder. It doesn't have wings, but that is a boulder.
I believe they have an issue,
Yeah.
which can be our issue.
Currently, now, Obstinatus, you're the only one that's climbed up to see this. So what do you guys do? What do you say?
Guys, I think Skjorn has a really good point. There's a boulder over there, and I think we need to go help these people.
I mean, there are a lot of boulders around here. They sort of just sit there, you know?
But it's like it's a boulder that's basically chasing these people. We need to go check this out.
A boulder has grown legs and is now chasing civilians. This is interesting.
Boulders with wings.
All right, well, let's
Boulders with
get
legs.
them into safety. I
You
know.
said legs.
I will go grab my glaive from inside.
Okay.
And then
Jennie, what do you do?
I will rush out to the gate with
Okay.
my supplies.
Skjorn?
I'm going to try to find a tree line that I can run to directly outside.
There are no trees within like 800 yards of this outpost. It's just open, rocky scrubland, which is exactly why it was abandoned.
Is there a larger rock?
No, but as you run to the gate, you see these people like fleeing for their lives, and you see this boulder effectively rolling uphill as if it's chasing them. Obstinatus, what do you do?
I'm gonna pull out my lance and my shield, and I'm gonna go with Skepsi.
Okay. You jump down off of the battlement, off the rampart. You run over to the gate. The three of you are at the gate, and you get there just at the same time as Talos gets there. And you see he's got his glaive. You guys look out of the gate, and the people running now are about 60 feet away, and the boulder's another 30 feet behind them and catching up fast. Time for initiative. Dun, dun, dun. Everybody roll.
All right. Also, when I do initiative with the Artificer, I don't know if you want to write it down, but regardless, the homunculus takes their turn after mine. So if I don't instruct it, it'll just do. It can do like 2 simple things.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead. What'd you get?
I have 16.
Okay, Skjorn.
2.
Quack, quack. Talos
14.
and Obstinatus.
15.
Okay. All right, Skepsi. As I said, you are at the gate looking out. You see these people are 60 feet away. The boulder is moving quickly towards them and is 30 feet behind them. You're up first.
All right. Well, I am going to attempt to push the boulder out of the way. I'm going to attack it with Firebolt.
Okay. Go ahead and blast away.
That's 14.
14 is a hit.
Here we are. Here we are. That's 4 plus 8, 12. Then another 4, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 damage.
Okay. All right. Obstinatus, you were up next. You see, you. Oh, sorry.
Also,
Go
I
ahead.
was going to use my bonus action to just command plasma.
What does that do?
So that's the homunculus. So now,
Yeah.
because the homunculus takes the turn after, I can have him go fly out to them because he can fly 30 feet. So I want him to meet where they are.
Okay. Is he invisible or is he visible?
He is visible. He's like corporal.
Okay. All right. Obstinatus, you were up.
Okay, how far away am I?
You're 60 feet from the people and 90 feet from the rolling boulder.
Okay. I really doubt that hitting a boulder with an arrow is gonna do much. So I'm gonna run up. I'm gonna run up as far as I can, and I'm gonna yell, "Are you guys okay? What happened?"
So if you blow your whole round, you can get to where they are, and effectively they'll pass you. Is that your intent?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Okay,
get to
so
where they
as
are.
you're running up and you get closer, you could see that they have scrapes and cuts and bruises and stuff. But they're very much they frankly look like fishermen, like that you have seen frequently in your patrols along the coastline. But they're carrying nothing. Like it looks like whatever happened, they tried to flee from this thing. So they see you and they're like, as you're like, "Are you guys okay?" They're like, "No, that thing has killed many people already. Run for your life!" And they run past you towards the fort.
Okay.
Okay, Talos, you're up.
Okay, how far away is the boulder?
90 feet.
90 feet. Okay, I
But
will.
you saw like Obstinatus run and basically is kind of standing between now where the boulder is and these people who are running past towards your outpost.
Okay, I will move maybe like 5 or 10 feet. Actually, I'll move like 20 feet
Okay.
and see if I can get into a position where I can see the boulder like past them. And then I will try to cast Entangle. So it's a 20-foot square starting at a point within 90 feet. So I'll cast it so it'll hit the boulder but not the people.
Yeah.
And then it has to succeed on a strength saving throw or be restrained until it's until it breaks it.
Okay. Here we go.
It has to beat a 16.
You're very lucky that I rolled a 3 because it has a huge bonus to its strength save. It is entangled. It failed. How does this appear?
So it's sort of like weeds and vines, but they're all like sort of charred and burnt
Okay.
and still sort of smoking around the edges, and they grab onto it.
So Obstinatus, you're like, this thing's rolling, right? Because it was chasing them. It's rolling towards you. And all of a sudden you see like from the scrub brush in this rocky area, vines and roots just kind of like reach up and form almost like a net that catches and stops this boulder and like begins to surround it and wrap around it. And it's you see it's like momentum has completely stopped, but it's like vibrating and kind of rocking back and forth as if it were, trying to escape from this entanglement. Okay, Skjorn, you were up.
Okay, so I just saw the rock stop.
Yeah, you saw Talos like speak some words of magic and like gesture out in the direction of the boulder, and you saw all that stuff kind of swarm up around this boulder and kind of stop it.
Okay, I'm gonna rush over to the rock because we gotta make sure this isn't a wily one.
You can get a lot closer to it. You can get up to where Obstinatus is.
So is that
60 feet.
directly?
You're 30 feet away from it.
Okay. I don't know if I should also ensnare it or can I just mage hand it with a bunch of birds and try to also secure it?
Is that a bonus
It
action?
is a cantrip.
Is it a bonus action cantrip?
It's an action.
So you can move 30 feet. What's your mage hand reach?
That would be really good to know as a Swarmkeeper. Jennie, since you're already on there.
What are you looking up?
The range of Swarmkeeper's birds.
I have no idea what you're saying to me.
The range of Swarm.
What? It's just the same as Mage Hand. The only difference with that is that it's visible. And it's like birds.
Okay.
But everything else is the same.
So you can't. It's a 30-foot range. So you can next round you could do that. If you use your action and your move, you can go 60 feet, and then next round you would be in range.
All right, that's fine.
Okay, so it does nothing. You see the boulder kind of like rocking back and forth. The two people that are closest, though, Skjorn and Obstinatus, make a perception check.
Okay. That's a 21.
Ooh.
25.
Both of you see something happening with this boulder. as it's been stopped by the entanglement of the vines and the roots, you see that it actually looks more like a anthropomorphic kind of like humanoid body that was curled up in a ball, because you start to make out like kind of a rocky head and shoulders and arms and legs, and but it was like in the form of a ball, like a spherical kind of shape. But you see the cracks in the rock as it's trying to struggle against the entanglement, reveals this kind of more anthropomorphic kind of humanoid form.
Kind of like an armadillo.
Kind of like a giant rock person.
Huh.
Who from far away had rolled itself up into a ball that looked like a boulder and is now struggling against the entangled form. Which brings us back to Skepsi.
Well, am I close enough to see this bowler?
No.
Closeness yet.
You could use 30 of your movement to get closer and then continue to do something.
Yes. I will. Well, actually, my speed is 35, so if I like double moved, could I get there?
You could get a lot closer.
All right, and then I think if I move closer, then I also am going to tell Plasma to approach it and examine, because he can perceive for me.
Make a plasma perception check.
Plasma perception check. Let me check his stats. All right. Plasma. Plasma got a nat 20, so he saw it pretty much.
How does Plasma communicate with you? Is it verbal or telepathic?
I believe it's a mental link. I think he can communicate audibly, but outside of that, it has the same.
So telepathically, Plasma tells you that he thinks that this is some kind of earth elemental. Obstinatus, you were up. This thing looks like it's been held by magic, but you see these kind of cracks forming in the boulder that reveals this form it's taking, and it's struggling against the vines. But you're 30 feet away, so you could actually move and act this round.
Okay, I'm gonna move up closer, and so he hasn't like spoken or anything, right? He's just a little rock dude.
This is a large creature.
Okay, not little rock dude, big rock dude.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna come up to him and like, hey, what's going on, bud?
In what language are you haying him?
Oh shoot. Let's go with giant.
You bust out some giant, and it doesn't seem to acknowledge your words. It's just struggling. It doesn't make any noise other than it sounds like basically rocks crunching together as it moves to try to struggle.
Would primordial work?
You could try that.
Okay. Hello. Are you okay? What's your name?
Make a insight check.
Insight check. Okay. That's a nat 20. I don't know if you can see, but
you are very certain. Yeah, with your giant dice, you are very certain that this thing doesn't seem to understand the words that you've spoken in either giant or primordial. But number two, looks like it is more than just aggressive, like as if it's berserk in some fashion.
Well, that's great.
And you definitely get the intent of aggression from this thing. despite your rather diplomatic speaking voice with it.
I tried.
It is now the turn of Talos. How long does your entanglement last? And do you have to concentrate on it?
Yeah, it's concentration. It lasts a minute. Yeah, up to 1 minute, but at the end of the creature's turn, it can make a saving throw to try to break it.
Yeah. So you're holding it. It's struggling, but it's still definitely held.
Yes. I guess I will get a little bit closer. How close am I to it right now?
60 feet away.
Okay. I'll move so I'm like 40 feet away from it.
Okay.
And I will hold my glaive and wait for it if it breaks out of the...
Okay. Just at the ready. All right. Skjorn, you are up.
Okay, I'm trying to pull up some things so I can read, but I would like to move in closer, and then I need to be able to... Okay, I'm trying to web him, but not in a way that it gets everybody, just trying to get the rock.
Okay. Let's do that. So it must make a saving throw, a dex saving throw. Rip. I don't think that succeeds. No, because it has a -1. Yeah. You successfully web it.
All right.
So at its round, it can try to make a strength check to get out of being restrained. Okay. Now this thing is covered with vines and roots and web, just all sticky web all over it, and it's like totally just immobilized right now.
Dang.
Except it starts to rip outward, and the first layer of things that it rips outward from are the vines that were holding it in place as it succeeds in breaking away from the entanglement. And it stands up, and it's like 14 feet tall, and it's basically just a rock monster. Now it's still covered in the webs, and it's trying to like free itself from that, but it's basically pulled itself up from the ground, and it's standing tall at 14 feet. And the grinding rock sound increases as it kind of rips out. Top of the order, Skepsi, you're up.
All right, am I close to it now?
Yes.
All right, well, it's trying to rip out, so...
Oh, by the way, the 4 Kamina who had been fleeing from this thing have made it into the stronghold, and they're like safely inside of the palisades.
There's some tea in there if you want some.
All right. So Skepsi, you are up.
Well, I think the best option would be I am going to cast... I'm going to try to cast Enlarge Reduce on it. It's concentration action. So I'm going to try to reduce it. That you'd have to make a con save. My spell save is 16, so if it can make a 16 con save, then rip.
It actually does. It has a total of a 20 for its con save.
All right, well, we did make an effort, but so this turn doesn't go to waste. We are going to continue to communicate with Plasma. And what I want him to do, because he can fly up, I want him to get 30 feet away from it.
Okay.
But he's going to use Force Strike. And try. That's ranged. So we're going to see if he can at least do a little bit of damage on him that way.
Okay.
I don't think so. That's 11.
No. The
Well-
Force Strike repels off of the creature.
We tried.
Okay. Up next is Obstinatus.
So, would I have any idea if this creature can be charmed?
Make a let's see, nature check. How about nature? How do you have?
Nature.
How's your nature?
Bad.
How's your Arcana?
Still bad. It's fine.
Take your pick. Go ahead.
Yikes. 12.
You are not sure if this can be charmed. You don't remember anything specifically about creatures of the elements being susceptible or immune from those kind of effects.
Well, we're gonna take a gamble. Why not? So I'm gonna touch my lance, and so I'm gonna put a stone rune on it. And then I don't think this is going to work because whatever. But I'm gonna go for it. So I put a stone rune on my lance, and then I try and like stab him with my stone lance. So I'm gonna try and invoke the rune and like force him to make a wisdom saving throw, and then if that succeeds, he's charmed by me.
Okay.
This may or may not work.
All right. His wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC.
My spell save DC is... Wow, I didn't do the math. Sorry, quick maths time. I think my spell save is 13, I think it is. Yeah.
It succeeds.
Wow, biscuits.
You imbue the rune and you poke it out at him, and suddenly the insanity of struggle that it was like against the webs kind of stops, and it sort of like looks down at you as if waiting for you.
Oh. Well, that's fantastic. Well, what now? I didn't think I'd get this far.
I'll tell
Quite
you
the
that
quote.
you have 10 seconds in real time to figure out what you do.
So, like,
It no longer seems aggressive. It has stopped resisting, and it's just looking at you.
he's just looking at me. I'm gonna try and get him to go away from like any civilization.
How do you say that?
Which way is away from civilization? That's it's
You could point to the northwest, which is towards the mountains.
yeah. I'll point to the northwest.
This is tricky because it doesn't speak your language. So I'm going to have you make a persuasion check using body language to communicate with the elemental to get it to do what you want it to do.
Okay.
Which it'll do it because it's charmed, but it has to know what you're trying to communicate.
Okay.
So make a persuasion check.
Persuasion. Okay. Come on, dice. That's a 14.
Okay. So you point towards the mountains, and it looks and nods, and then it starts trying to walk towards the mountains, but it's still stuck in the webs. However, with that nat 20 and its +5, it just rips out of the spider webs and begins like lumbering off towards the mountains.
Works.
Which then leads us to Talos, make a insight check. You seriously rolled a 1?
No, I was just saying, wait.
Oh.
That's a 16.
Okay. So you saw Obstinatus cast some spell, and you saw this interaction, very brief interaction where like the earth elemental stopped struggling, and then you saw Talos kind of point towards the mountains, or Obstinatus point towards the mountains, and then the thing like ripped out of the webs and just started walking, lumbering off towards the mountains, which is kind of in the direction where you and Skepsi and Skjorn are currently standing, but it's not looking at you. It's not like running towards you or swinging. It's just like lumbering off towards the mountains. What do you do? It's your turn.
Oh, is he good now? Did you say something to him?
I charmed him, and now he's going away.
For how long?
Well, I charmed him for... Well, it's 1 minute.
As you, the duration is an hour.
It's an hour?
Does it function in the same way as the charmed person spell?
It's it unless the save succeeds the creature's charmed by you for 1 minute.
Oh, okay. So it's not the same as the charmed person spell.
I'm fine with an hour. That's great.
No, we'll say it's 1 minute. So Skjorn and Skepsi, you guys see this as well. You see this thing like as if it doesn't even see you. It just walks past you, and it's kind of walking towards the mountains, which are miles away.
Yeah.
So we don't have long.
But I'm assuming that Obstinatus comes up and kind of tells you this. So,
I mean, I asked him.
so the four of you are kind of in this circle, and you see this thing just lumbering away. Another round goes by.
Let's go after.
Okay, well, I want to,
I don't
in
think
this
it's
short period of peace, try to recall any other of my studies on the elemental
Make an
rock-like.
Arcana check.
Good. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
You actually recall quite a bit, and part of that is because Ohiro being so close to the mountains, your father has encountered various elemental creatures, earth elementals being among them. You know that they speak Terran in their very crude kind of communication ability. You also know that they don't take damage from like conventional weapons. And also that they are actually vulnerable to thunder, any kind of thunder damage. The other thing that you know as well is that they can basically burrow through earth. Like if they want to disappear, they could just go whoop and like burrow through earth. And their ability to move is the same as like the speed that you can move while you're on land.
Mm.
But this thing does not seem to be burrowing. It also does not seem to be running. It's just kind of lumbering along towards the mountains as it was commanded.
Interesting.
So that's
Well, I
round
will-
2. What do you want to do?
I do want to share this information with them too, so they don't. You shouldn't be wasting the sharpness of your blades trying to hit at this creature.
Unless they're magical.
Unless they're magic. Or if any of you other...
Your fire bolts did seem to do some damage against it.
Oh.
It
So
scorched some of that rock.
So piercing's a no, but fire's a go.
Or definitely, I don't
I
know if any of you,
that's
you all a
speaking
bit
for me.
trained in the Arcana. If you have any thunderous abilities.
I might have something. I do have lots of fire though.
I'm also trying to recount if I know a brew that can produce such effects, but
I'm gonna like trail behind it as it's walking, like
Okay.
30 feet away from it.
So
Follow.
I'm going to say after 3 rounds, it has passed the palisade. And you have 5 more rounds left.
Okay.
So it is now past Talos's camp and is kind of moving towards the mountains, which are miles and miles and miles away.
Okay. I mean, my lance won't do anything. I'm thinking. Do you guys think I should command it to do anything else while we have a little bit of time?
You should.
To be clear, it's not looking at you anymore. But if you wanted to run up ahead of it and get in front of it, you could try doing that.
Yeah.
You could always command it to, like, I don't know, lay down or something, so that when it, it remembers what it is, it's like on the ground. And then I can chuck some fireballs at it.
Yeah, I'll do that. Okay, I'm gonna try and. Okay, I'm gonna touch my lance, or I'm gonna touch an arrow. I know an arrow won't do anything, but the rune will. So, and I'm gonna put a fire rune on an arrow, and I'm gonna try and approach him and tell him to like lay down while he's still charmed, and then get away as soon as possible.
Okay.
Sorry, that was a lot.
You run up ahead. You figure you've got a few rounds left. You kind of gesture to the ground. It like stops walking, and then it like goes down on all 4s to the ground and kind of rolls back up into a boulder. And then the boulder begins to sink into the ground. And like earth is like kind of shooting up. And the boulder is kind of spinning in place and digging itself down into the ground and burrowing.
Okay.
Skepsi. This thing is burrowing into the ground.
well, I am going to make sure I'm going to send plasma up so it's higher and out of danger range. And then I am going to retreat backwards
Okay.
towards the thing.
Okay. Obstinatus, anything else? It's digging itself down into the ground.
We'll just go with that, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. Talos?
Yeah, I guess I'll just stand there. I'll be like, well, I guess it's leaving, maybe.
Skjorn?
I don't. He can't take any melee damage. Bye. Have fun. I don't know where you get to go now.
Okay. The next round, you just see a crater and like there's some like rocks and earth kind of vibrating, but this thing is dug down now. Like it's burrowed. It has disappeared into the ground.
Well, I mean, if he's gone,
Can we just like pour lava or something?
that seems kind of cruel.
I
Okay,
would
he was
advise.
kind of cruel.
I don't see why this kind of creature, if it's been attacking people regularly, I don't know why it would just retreat. Also, I would like to remind you on your own magical effects. Usually, when you use something of a charming nature, familiar with this, the intelligent creature knows that it was charmed. So if this is another intelligent being, it will not be happy that you have affected it in this way. Therefore, I would not advise to the thought that it would just retreat.
As Skepsi explains this, it's become silent. You guys don't. There's no more like digging sounds. Like this thing has burrowed down deep and seems to be gone. Behind you, in from the fort, from the safety inside of the palisades, you see one of the Kamina like poke around the gate, and he's like an old fisherman, and he's like, "Is it gone? Have you defeated the rock monster?"
He burrowed away. We're hoping that he'll be gone at least for now, but we're still looking.
Ah, thank you. You are heroes. You have saved us.
If anything comes up, please let us know.
They don't seem like they're leaving. Like they're in the fort. Like, so what do you guys do? You're still outside of the fort.
Well, I would recommend they stay in there, but I would also keep watch if you guys shout back to them. Are any of you injured?
Yes. They're all injured.
All right, well, I believe.
Do you guys go back inside of the palisades into the fort?
I can return for now. I can aid their wounds.
I could help you do that if you want.
Okay.
If you would like to assist.
They're all pretty much superficial. If you have medicine, you don't even need to make a roll. You basically, it looks like they all got kind of like beat up peripherally. But as you guys are tending to them, one of the other fishermen tells you, he's like, "We are from the fishing village of Vagan. It was just a normal day like anything this morning, and we were returning from this morning's haul of fish when all of a sudden we heard explosion of rocks from north of the village and people screaming and buildings being knocked down by this large boulder, but it wasn't rolling down the hill. It would roll sideways one way and sideways another, and smashing, destroying, and people tried to leave, and some got crushed by this rock, and some people got onto their boats, but they got away. But we were too far away from the shore, and so we started to run this way, and it must have heard us or seen us and began following us. We don't know if anyone else has survived in the village." And they kind of look at all of you, and they're like, "Can you help? Can you bring word to someone to help?"
We can go check out the village.
And you see one of the Kamina women look at Obstinatus, and she's like, "Are you from the sanctuary?"
Yes.
"Maybe the sanctuary could help our village. We sometimes bring our fish to the sanctuary to market."
Yes. Maybe I'll check out your village and I'll see if Neurostema can help you.
Yes, we would be very grateful. So after about 10 minutes, you guys kind of have them all bandaged up. You put some salve on some of the scrapes and cuts. What do you guys do?
Should we stick around just in case this thing comes back for like a little bit and then go, or do you guys think we should just go?
Good questions. What do you guys think?
I mean, I would prefer if we like just made sure this thing wasn't gonna come back, because I would prefer, if it destroyed everything here, that would be, not good.
I can hide in plain sight directly next to it, and you guys could hide, and we can make it seem as if everyone's gone and see if he'll crumble out or whatever.
Well, it seemed to be, from the previous story, it seemed to be mostly attacking people. I don't know if I have recalled from my studies the natures of the elementals, if they're. This one seemed to be very hostile, but I'm not sure if they all tend to be.
You're pretty savvy in recalling the lore that you know, and several things ring out as being a little bit odd about this situation. Number one, the fact that the elemental took this boulder form and was like rolling around crushing things is not common. And number two, you do know that typically they are neutral and kind of if you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone sort of thing. And you can't really think of a reason why an earth elemental of that size would be near the coast, near a fishing village. There aren't a lot of like rocks or hills in that area. It's kind of a flat coastal area.
This does seem strange for its nature. There could be something else affecting it. I would guess it could be something similar to the shape-shifting effects, but even categories wouldn't. I don't assume that something like this. People have been dying. I think that seems more than what would be typical of his pranking, chaotic nature. But whatever this danger is, we should protect these people. If there's a way we could, I don't know if you know any magics that are ranged. I don't. Rangers usually have that.
What is the question?
No, here on your front. No, that's different. Well,
I'm going to have Talos make a Arcana or Nature. You can choose.
Okay, we're gonna go with. I mean, they're both minus, so
Okay.
it doesn't matter. That's a 2.
Yeah, even in your druidic studies, you're not sure that you've heard of elementals behaving this way naturally.
I don't know. Maybe he was just, mad about something.
But what would he be mad about?
So mad to roll up into a ball and chase people. I have never been like this.
Whatever it is, it does seem far beyond reason.
Skjorn, I'm going to also say that you could make either an Arcana or Nature check, given your background and understanding of nature.
Ten.
Yeah, you also feel like the premise that like if you encounter an earth elemental, as long as you're not kind of like in its territory or aggressive towards it, usually they're not aggressive like this. You feel like something just isn't right about this situation.
Maybe it's not an elemental.
Or maybe it's working.
Maybe somebody made it angry.
Maybe
or
it's
if something is affecting it, it seems that it's more targeted towards the Chamenos. So it would be wise to return to this fishing village where most of the brunt of the destruction. The only reason why it came all the way out here was because it was following the previous people. So if we take them back to their village and see the destruction and examine, that'll probably get us closer to figuring out why they're behaving in such a manner.
Okay. So are you guys like setting out on foot with them?
Is that what you want to do?
Sure.
It's up to you. It's your fort. You could just kick them out.
True. I don't want to if that thing comes back. I guess if we're going, I'll just close everything up.
Okay. You kind of close everything up. Everybody goes outside of the gate. You close the gate up, and you start walking south. I assume you guys are walking, or are you running? What's your plan?
Fast walking.
Okay. Um,
Both.
just so I know, like a rough marching order, who's in front, who's in the middle, and who's in the back? And also in that, where do you want the Camina to be? There are 4 of them.
I'll be in the front.
I'll be in the back left.
Mina should be middle,
Okay.
right? I can stick like middle-ish front.
Okay. As you guys are walking, Talos, make a survival check.
That is a 27.
Ooh.
19
Right.
plus 8.
You're kind of up ahead. You're in the front, and you can see actually as you're going, you could see the rut through the ground, through the earth, where this thing had been rolling and chasing these people. And it almost is like following a path back towards the village. So you kind of see this rut, and you recognize it for what it is, and you kind of start heading back through that same direction. And as you guys travel, you travel for about 20 minutes, and you could see up in the distance, you could see the ocean. The wind is kind of a little more damp. You know, some of that ocean breeze is kind of getting into the air. And you see this rut, and you actually see another one off to your left, like 20 yards away. And it looks like it's about the same size. And that rut seems to be heading towards the village. And it occurs to you that maybe the other rut that you see is where it originally came from the north of the village as you're heading this way.
Point that out to everybody.
You guys see what Talos is talking about. He kind of gestures over there. The Camina, as you guys are walking, are like, oh, our village. And they kind of point, and you just see rubble. Like, you see what used to be buildings. You see shacks, like wooden cottages. You see, little half stone walls and fences, and it's all just demolished. And as you get closer, you actually see bodies, like many of which are squished and like just dead bodies of people. You find as you enter the village and amidst all this rubble, it basically looks like a bomb went off. Like everything is just bulldozed and knocked over, and like you even see some livestock just crushed, and like a cart knocked over and half of it crushed. People's buildings and shacks. You see closer to the coastline, one of the docks coming off of the rocks going into the water, like was rolled over and crushed, and like half of it's floating in the water and the other half's like on the bank, and the tide's kind of like lifting it up and back. And then out into the water, about 100 yards out, you see 3 fishing boats that are kind of like out in the water. And you notice like one person standing on the bow of one of the boats, like looking out and like waving at you guys. And the Camina see this as well, and they're like, ah, survivors, there are survivors on the boat.
Let's go check on the survivors then.
Yes, maybe there is a boat that was not smashed. And they start looking around, like in the village through the rubble. And what do you guys do? Is there anything specific that you guys want to try to do?
I want to
how-
ask Skepsi, like, do you think that people like one of these things could do it, or is it like a bunch of them? Because this is like a lot of damage.
The multiple elementals.
I mean, like, can one big rock thing do like crush this whole place?
How far is the boat out? from
The
shore?
boats are about 100 yards out.
All right. Well,
And one of the Camino runs over and is like, there are no boats, there are no rowboats left. The boathouse was smashed and the boats with it. And you notice, by the way, actually, you know what, at this point, I would say, Obstinatus, you are familiar with the coastal operations. And you know that there's some danger to going out too far off the coast. You know that there are like dangerous ocean dwelling creatures. And they're kind of out about as far as is smart to go.
Okay. I share
Uh,
this with everyone, by the way.
well, I'm sure how that thing flew around, it would make sense. You wouldn't want to be too close to the shore, as it could get all the way there. I would
Yeah.
like, since Plasma can be up, I'm gonna send him to fly out above the water and try to meet their boats and interact with them and see if they're okay.
Okay. Plasma starts flying out in that direction. After a minute, you see Plasma kind of get out there. Now, can you communicate through Plasma, or is Plasma just autonomously checking on them?
I can't speak for him. It's like kind of automated intelligence. So he has instructions, he does whatever.
Okay. He flies back after a couple minutes and he reports to you that they are okay. Some of them are bruised and cut and battered, but they got onto the boats and got away from the shore before the rock thing started crushing everyone else.
Hmm.
Can I look around and see if, like, I know there are like bodies, but are all of them like dead, or are some of them just like really injured?
You and the other Camina are kind of going from person to person and checking, and you have not found any living survivors yet.
Okay.
Is there any way to track from the destruction or the treading where the boulder might have sourced from?
You could go back to where Talos had found that track.
Yeah, I'm gonna go more towards that track.
Okay. Talos, what are you doing during this time? And also, Skjorn, what are you doing? Obstinatus is working with the Camina to look for survivors. What are you guys doing?
See, I can swim, but I just kind of want to swim.
You want to swim out to the boats?
Yeah, but also they're right at the border, and sometimes every once in a while a creature just feels like, let me go to the shallows.
Mm-hmm.
Did Plasma feel like there's urgency to see the people?
No, but the people are waiting to find out if it's safe for them to come back to the shore.
Okay.
So do you send Plasma out to let them know that it's safe?
I will let them know that it is safe for now, but we haven't located or technically defeated it yet.
Okay. Plasma flies out there. relays the message, comes back. You see the fishermen kind of raise their sails and start like sailing, beginning to sail back towards the shore. Meanwhile, Talos, you and Skepsi go back to that original side track that you had found. Make a, I'll say, I'll let you choose. You could either kind of trace the track and try to derive some meaning from that using survival, or you can make an investigation check.
Well, considering my survival is +8 and my investigation is -1.
Yeah, so together you can do that with survival, and then Skepsi, you can make an investigation check.
Yeah, investigation's probably my jam here. Or also, is this within this time is Plasma like come back?
Yes.
Okay, so I want him to assist me.
Okay.
So they can assist in your.
I got a 19.
19. Okay.
Wait, so that's 17 plus. That's a lot. 17. That's like 24.
Okay. So Talos, you kind of locate this track and you begin walking this track and following the direction. What you notice is that this does not seem to come from the northwest, like from the mountains, from Notiavuna. It's kind of more coming from the north. And as you're ruminating on this, Skepsi, you kind of investigate the pattern of the track, and you're very certain that this is the same imprint made by that rolling elemental. But what disturbs you as you're investigating this is that this looks like maybe it came up the coast from north of here, which would mean that it was closer to the sanctuary of Neurostema.
Mm.
And that is where we'll end this episode of Storied Sojourns, D&D with college students. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one.
Well, hello, it's me, Wizzy. I'm back once again to remind you to subscribe and click on the notifications button, and also watch videos that are over there. And then don't forget to tune in to the next episode of whatever show you are just watching, and crafting videos and DM tips and pro tips for vlogging and all sorts of gaming things. And also you could watch Bill eat food and watch other shows featuring Bill. He made me say that because he's a narcissist. Okay, bye.